The God in the darkness, darkness was like an endless silence covering the universe. There was no sky, no earth, no humans yet, only darkness. To Erlik Han. He was the oldest darkness of Turkic mythology, a whisper that existed before life under the skies. One day the darkness cracked and light seeped in. Karahan created the heavens, raised the mountains, let the rivers flow. But Erlik Han, he watched the coming of the light. And within that light, he saw an enemy. For Erlik Han, the light was a threat that would break his loneliness. One day, Erlik Han looked up to the skies and took a deep breath, and he said, "They are taking this silence that belongs to me." Rain fell from the sky, winds blew, and in Karahan's world, first beings appeared. But Erlik Han's kingdom was darkness. That darkness began to stir, trying to reach the earth. When night came and fear entered the dreams of people, when shadows fell upon the fields under moonless skies, when a distant howl echoed deep in the forests, it was the breath of Erlik Han. When a child woke up in the night, staring at the darkness in fear, Erlik Han was there. When the wind suddenly slammed the door shut, when dogs howled at night, the elders would say, "The armies of Erlik Han are roaming." Erlik Han was a god born of darkness, but he was also the keeper of justice. After death, souls would go to him to answer for what they had done. Sometimes he would punish them, sometimes he would let them go free, but those days had not yet come. For Erlik Han was still in the darkness, and he was waiting patiently. One night Erlik Han made his decision. "I will descend to this world." A door opened from the darkness, a cold breath swept across the land. The stars in the sky trembled for a moment, and a newborn baby cried out for the first time. With that cry, Erlik Han's first step into the world was made. The door that opened in darkness, the world had begun to take shape. With the breath of Karahan, mountains rose, rivers roared. The sky was blue, the earth was green. Humans were born, discovered fire, and began to learn life. But no one could hear the breath of darkness. No one could feel the silent steps of Erlik Han. One night, starless darkness fell upon the steppe. The wind stopped, birds went silent, even the rivers ceased their song. In that moment, a door opened within the darkness. Like an invisible crack, a cold wind swept through. The earth split. Dry branches snapped. Erlik Han seeped into the world from the darkness. Humans were sleeping. Fires had died down. Villages were drowned in silence. But a baby began to cry at midnight. That cry was Erlik Han's first step into the darkness of this world. As the baby cried, shadows grew thicker. Dogs began to bark. Horses neighed in fear. Old women woke up with terror in their eyes, whispering, "Something is coming." Erlik Han began to wander as the Lord of Darkness, in the depths of forests and misty plains and caves. Wherever he passed like an unseen wind, people suddenly shivered. Animals would stare into nothingness and howl, because Erlik Han was sniffing souls. Saw who was afraid, who was weak, who let the darkness inside them grow. One night a young hunter lost his way in the forest. There was no moonlight. The wind was whispering, branches cracking. As the hunter tried to light a fire, the world fell silent. The fire wouldn't light. He heard a breath behind him. Cold, long, a breath made of darkness. When he turned around, he saw no one. But the earth beneath his feet trembled. In that moment, he knew. Erlik Han is here. That night, Erlik Han looked into the soul of the hunter. He tasted the fear within him, and the hunter fell to his knees in the darkness. Erlik Han said nothing, because he needed no words. He was waiting for the darkness to grow, for people to face the darkness within themselves. Lord of the Soul's darkness was now upon the earth. Erlik Han wandered at night, whispering in the winds, entering the dreams of humans. No one could see him, but many could feel him. In villages, babies cried through the night. Elders saw a black shadow in their dreams. That shadow would approach, stop, and wait. And people were forced to face their own fears, because Erlik Han wanted to see the darkness within their hearts. One night, a woman saw Erlik Han in her dreams, a tall figure within a black mist. He had no eyes, yet he was looking at her. The woman trembled and asked, "What do you want from me?" Erlik Han did not answer. He pointed towards the darkness. When the woman looked into the darkness, she saw her own reflection, her fears, her anger, her lies. She woke up in tears. The next morning, the elder said, Erlik Han has weighed your soul. Erlik Han had a duty to test the souls of people within the darkness. He was not just a figure of fear, but also the cold face of justice. Some saw him as a curse, others as balance. But everyone knew, when we die, our soul will stand before Erlik Han. When the moment of death came, souls were called to the dark throne of Erlik Han. No lie could hide there, no fear could be covered. Erlik Han would look into the souls and extend his hand. Sometimes he would let a soul get lost in the darkness, sometimes he would set it free. When the soul of a warrior came, Erlik Han felt their courage. When the soul of a thief came, he tasted their fear. When the soul of a mother came, he saw her love. And he would look at each of them in the same silence, because for Erlik Han, only one thing mattered: the truth of the soul. And while the world continued to turn, while people continued to live, when the nights grew silent, when the sound of the wind could be heard, Erlik Han was there, invisible yet waiting. Because darkness never truly disappears, it only waits. The pact in the darkness, the nights were long, and the winds were cold. While people sat by the fire telling stories, Erlik Han wandered silently within the darkness. Even speaking his name brought fear. But some tried to make a pact with the darkness. During a time of war, a chieftain sat in his black tent. His army was defeated. His people were drowning in fear. The chieftain closed his eyes and whispered, "Erlik Han, Lord from the darkness, hear me." The darkness stirred. The wind swept into the tent. Though the fire died instantly, warmth disappeared. A cold breath was felt inside the tent. When the chieftain opened his eyes, he saw a dark silhouette. It had no voice, but the chieftain heard a whisper in his heart. "What do you want?" The chieftain, trembling, replied, "Power. I want power to defeat my enemies." The silence of Erlik Han grew heavy. The darkness swirled inside the tent, surrounding the chieftain. And Erlik Han's dark voice echoed within the chieftain's mind. "Power lies within darkness. But every power comes with a price." The chieftain lowered his head. "What do you want from me?" The darkness of Erlik Han moved closer and whispered, "I want your soul." In that moment, as the chieftain's vision darkened, a smile appeared on his lips. He was ready to give up his soul to destroy his enemies. The next morning, the chieftain went into battle with his army. A dark fire burned within his eyes. No enemy could stand against him. They all fell before him. But on the night of his victory, as the chieftain sat alone, the wind swirled inside the room, the flame flickered, and a dark shadow appeared. The chieftain's soul now belonged to Erlik Han. The next day, people found the chieftain's lifeless body in his room. His eyes were open, a strange smile on his lips, and a cold wind blew through the room. The elders said, "Erlik Han came to collect his pact, because every pact made with Erlik Han brings power, but also the price of darkness. The darkness never forgets." Whenever a human whispers into the darkness, Erlik Han hears them, and one day the darkness returns. As the darkness rises, time passed. People forgot. They forgot the darkness of Erlik Han, his silent steps, the cold breath that came at night, but darkness never forgets. One night, under a starless sky, a village fell into silence. The dogs did not howl, even the wind refused to blow. The air was heavy, and people could not sleep. A child went to his mother and whispered, "Mother, there is someone in my room." The mother stroked the child's head, hiding her tears as she said, "Don't be afraid, my child." But the mother knew too. The darkness had returned. That night, the shadow of Erlik Han passed through the homes. In some rooms, a baby cried. In others, a candle suddenly went out. And in their dreams, people heard an ancient whisper, "I am here." Erlik Han had returned. Because the darkness within people's hearts had grown again, fear had increased and lies had multiplied. Every fear strengthens Erlik Han. Every lie feeds the breath of darkness. Every betrayal calls upon the darkness, and the darkness rises. But Erlik Han is not just a god of darkness. He is a mirror that shows people their true selves. He brings out the darkness within people. He does nothing to those who face it with courage. But those who fear, those who try to run from the darkness, their souls are what he waits for. One day, when the wind howls through the night, as the mist crawls over the steppe, and the fires suddenly begin to die out, know that Erlik Han is there. You will not see him, but you will feel him. And in that moment, like a whisper, the darkness will touch your ear. Do not fear the darkness, for the darkness is you.